Greetings, Crestkill community. Dr. Peter Hughes here, your superintendent, and tonight we're going to be discussing the Crestkill K-12 health education standards. Mr. Roth and I will be making this short video to give you an overview of your grade level's curriculum, as well as some things that you need to be made aware of. The purpose of this presentation is really threefold. It's to give you accurate information regarding the new updated New Jersey Student Learning Standards, to provide an overview of the grade level curriculum, and finally to help you decide if you would like to have your child opt out of any of the standards. It is your right as a parent in Crestkill school districts. In fact, when we look back at the history of sex education in New Jersey, it's a right that's existed since the 1980s. That is not changing. If there's ever anything that you're uncomfortable with in the health standards, we can certainly adapt your child's exposure and make sure that you're part of that decision-making process. I also wanted to highlight some changes that have come out in 2018-19, just as an overview. There's been a lot of focus more on sexting, consent, and safe haven included inside of the health standards to make sure that kids have a more contemporary view. Without further delay, I wanted to go into the 4 reasons for the new updated standards, and finally turn you over to Mr. Roth to review the grade level expectations. When New Jersey came together, they really wanted to include 4 items: inclusivity, making sure that the health standards were inclusive of all New Jersey residents, medically accurate, make sure that there's a focus on safety, and finally create open dialogue where kids have safe adults that they can ask questions of. In addition to the parents, but that is a piece of making sure that we have a partnership of support for the kids. Without further delay, here's Mr. Roth.
Hello, second grade families. I'd like to just touch upon some of the units that will be covered in second grade health. These are 5 units, so similar to first grade, second graders also engage in 5 courses of study over the year. The first of which is a unit on our bodies, our boundaries. So unit 1 will be a unit where students will learn to identify why it's important to identify the parts of their body. And that will be based on the understandings that students will recognize that being knowledgeable with the technical vocabulary of their bodies, including their genitals, will lead to helping them protect themselves and others around them. Students will learn how to successfully communicate clear personal boundaries and know the trusted adults around them who can help them through uncomfortable situations should they unfortunately ever arise. So this has to do with what we call safe versus unsafe touching in the elementary schools. That's something we've been teaching as long as I can remember, in the effort to ensure that our students are growing up with knowledge and understanding that keeps them as safe as possible over time. The second unit of study picks up on understandings that were established in grade 1. So this is another unit on me and my emotions. Students will learn in this particular unit as second graders that it is okay to have many emotions, even through one single day. So students will be able to recognize the emotions and identify what it is that they're feeling, as well as come up with coping strategies if the emotions are not positive feelings. So it'll be helpful for them to understand that people experience different emotions and that this is normal. And also that mindful activities, such as learning some basic breathing techniques, can help relieve emotions that feel big or strong, especially when we're young and developing. Grade 2, Unit 3, so our third unit of study, involves an examination of healthy relationships. So this again picks up on concepts in a foundation that was established in grade 1. Students will learn and discuss how individuals make their own choices about how to express themselves. So they may learn things such as that your choices about favorite color are not gender dependent. Choices about the way you dress or activities you participate in are not gender dependent. They depend on your own preferences. discussing the range of ways people express their gender and how gender role stereotypes may limit behavior. So again, the understanding that the activities and things we enjoy or the paths that we would like to pursue in life are not gender dependent. They're not dependent on whether we express ourselves as a boy or a girl. They have more to do with choices about what we would like to do with ourselves in our lives. Students will identify, teachers will help identify the basic social needs of all people in the effort in establishing the understanding of how all of us want to be accepted for who we are. As well as determining factors that contribute to healthy relationships that were established, again, in grade 1, that have to do with communication and care and healthy ways for friends to express feelings for one another. The final 2 units, the first of which in grade 2 is Unit 4, is a brief introduction on the concept of substance abuse in the effort to keep students safe. So students will capitalize on first grade knowledge and gain further knowledge of certain medicines and how they're used and the importance of utilizing medications properly, identifying ways in which drugs, including some medicines, can be harmful to a person, and explaining the effects of things like tobacco use on personal hygiene and health and safety. This will relate to the final unit of the year for grade 2 students relative to our community. So again, as has been done in kindergarten, as has been done in first grade through this entire band, second graders will be able to identify community professionals and school personnel who address health emergencies and provide reliable health information to us. They'll determine where to access home and school and community health professionals. Things will be covered like explaining that individuals who abuse or misuse alcohol, tobacco, or other drugs can get help, and that there are those dedicated to supporting those in need. And again, concepts in terms of contacting important local personnel in emergency situations. So in each band, K1 and 2, that demonstration of how to dial and text 911 in case of emergencies will occur.
Hi, everyone. Now that you know a little bit about that grade level's specific units, it's important to talk about any controversies that exist in the K to second grade band. And it's also important to understand the context of how it's taught for us. The first thing that may be controversial in the K to second grade standards is defining reproduction. We talk about it in the classrooms as being how do parents take care of a baby? How does a mama bear take care of a cub? And how living things can make more living things. For example, bacteria in your hands can reproduce to create more bacteria that make us sick. So it's important when we talk about hygiene about the idea of removing the bacteria because they can reproduce. That's what reproduction means to us in K through second grade bands. The second thing that comes up is some of the gender norms that may come about. And this really comes around preventing stereotypes of girl and boy activities and making sure that all children feel comfortable exploring whatever their interests are. Let's talk about what that looks like. What are different ways that people like to dress? Does everybody dress the same? Why is it important to dress and represent who you are? What are things that people like to do? Does everybody have to like the same things? Do things people like to do have to be boy things or girl things? Or are they really just neutral things? Can girls play with Legos? Girls do not have to be nurses. Boys do not have to be doctors. These are the types of things that are conditioning to prevent any stereotypes from playing out. And it's a way of making sure that our kids have more access, not less. This is also a fact. Gender identity is never talked about in K through second grade. It's not a topic typically. So there's a lot of misinformation out there about pronouns and kids. And the reality is that is not where we go with this. The third thing that we would talk about in the kindergarten to second standards is use of medically accurate names for body parts, including the genitals. We use correct terminology because it's important to be factual with kids, and it does come up naturally in conversation with kids when they have questions. What does this look like? We talk about playing outside helps our hearts and lungs work together so talking about the actual organs that make us function as humans. Putting good food into our bodies, it helps our bodies grow. And using scientific names such as stomach, penis, vagina, we use the scientific names consistently, and there's a reason for this. It helps students develop a more positive body image. It also allows children to be more willing to ask questions with more accurate names. And it also helps students who deal with or are exposed to abuse accurately describe the trauma. So it's really a measure to prevent child abuse to a certain degree. So these are some of the reasons that those terms are used. It's not that we're trying to draw attention to it, it's that they come up naturally in topics. Thank you. Now that you've taken the time to learn about that grade level's standards, as well as some of the controversial areas, it's important to now show you how we plan on getting the opt-out forms filled out. You as parents have the opportunity now to access the opt-out forms. They'll be coming out prior to us teaching the curriculum. And they're going to look like the following. This is an example for kindergarten, Unit 1. The first thing on the form, it's going to be a Google form, and you just list the student's first and last name, followed by a unit description that gives you some background information about the unit and the actual standards that are taught in that unit. If you chose to opt your child out of any of these standards, your child would simply go and do independent reading in another room. That's the plan for alternative environments for the kids. And then finally, we will be hosting a parent night for us to get deeper into some of the discussions and answer some of the questions. We do ask that if you have questions specifically, that you submit them online. You can use this QR code. I've also included a link in my letter. On February 15th at 6 p.m., we are going to be hosting a Health and PE parent night for those of you who want to come out and hear some of the answers to those questions. We're still working on the location. It's to be determined. It will likely be over in Merritt, but we are not certain of the location as of now. So thank you so much for taking the time to view this video, and we look forward to helping answer any questions going forward. Thank you.